Hello and welcome back to a new lecture on semantics. In previous lectures, we discussed levels of semantic analysis. So we said that there are three main levels that we were interested in. The first was the word level, then the sentence level, and the utterance level. Under the word level, we said there were two main branches. The first was reference, and the second was sense. Now the branch of semantics that studies sense is called lexical semantics. We have already spoken in great detail about reference. Now we begin with going into the details of sense and sense relations. So what are sense relations? If you recall back from our semiotic triangle, we said that if we say the word dog, the linguistic expression, that this word actually means a certain concept of dog or a sense of dog. We've also seen in previous lectures a few theories that discuss the nature of this concept. If you recall, those were the image theory, the classical theory, the causal theory, and the prototype theory. Now imagine that this same concept here, along with all the other thousands of concepts we have in our mind, are just scattered there randomly in our minds. Do you think they would be easy to access these concepts whenever we needed them? Of course not. There has to be some kind of relation, some kind of network that connects all these senses together. And notice that I'm saying senses and not words, because as we will see in a minute, a word may have multiple senses. A sense may also have multiple words. Take for example the word bank. The word bank can mean the side of a river, or it can mean a money vault. So in this case, one word, bank, has multiple senses. On the flip side, more than one word, like dad and father, may have the same exact sense in our mind. In other words, they have the same exact meaning, or they are connected to the same exact concept in our minds. Therefore, it's very important to understand how these sense relations work, how they are organized. So basically we're asking, how is the lexicon structured? Now the lexicon is our mental dictionary. Are they stored in forms of words or senses, or both? What relations exist between them, if any? This is the topic that we call sense relations. So let's begin. We can divide up the main sense relations that we're going to talk about in this class into four main categories. Number one, homonymy and polysemy. Number two, semantic similarity or synonymy. Number three, semantic opposition. And number four, taxonomic or hierarchical relations. Let's begin with the first one, homonymy and polysemy. Let's begin with the general difference between homonymy and polysemy. The major difference between the two is that in homonymy, the senses are unrelated, but in polysemy, the senses are related. Now that we got that major difference aside, let's focus for the time being on homonymy. Now in homonymy, we said that the senses are unrelated. So what is related? What is related in homonymy could be either the sound or the orthography. Orthography just means the spelling used or the letters used. So orthography is a word that means writing, how we write the word. So if we have two words that are unrelated in senses but sound exactly the same, we call this homophony. If you notice here, phone or phony has to do with sounds. Now if you have two senses that are unrelated but look exactly the same, then we call that homography. What if you have two words with unrelated senses that sound the same and are spelled exactly the same? Could that ever happen? Well, yes, it can. Let's call those types pure homonymy. An example is the one we just mentioned. Bank, let's call this bank number 1 and bank number 2. Bank number 1 can have to do with money. Bank number 2 can have to do with the river. These words are pronounced the same and their orthography is exactly the same. B-A-N-K, B-A-N-K. I would call these a case of homonymy. How about a case where the sounds are the same, but the orthography is different? Take the word ring and the word ring. Now notice that the senses, first of all, are unrelated. Ring here means to twist something until it extracts all of the water that's in it, while ring here is something you wear on your finger. The sound is exactly the same. The orthography is different. And so these two are examples of homophony. Now how about two words with the same exact spelling but different sound? Take, for example, house as a noun and house as a verb. The orthography, or the way the word is written, is exactly the same. The senses are unrelated. House is a place. House is a action. The sounds differ. This is house and this is pronounced house. These would be cases of homography. Another case of homography: articulate, the adjective, articulate, the verb. Same orthography, different pronunciation. This is articulate, the stress on this syllable, and this is articulate with secondary stress on the last syllable. Now that we've gotten homonymy down with its two sub-branches, homophony and homography, what about polysemy? Now we mentioned earlier that polysemy differs from homonymy in general in that the senses in polysemy are related. Okay, let's see an example. Take the word magazine. How many senses are there for the word magazine? Well, one sense is something you read. Another sense is a cartridge store bullets for a gun. Okay, but you said that the senses in polysemy have to be related. How are these two related? Well, sometimes you have to go back to the etymology of the word. Magazine comes from the Arabic word makhazin or makhzan. What this word originally means in Arabic is to store something, to save it somewhere, like storage. So what does this have to do with a magazine that you read? Well, in a magazine that you read, the essential idea of the meaning was that you are storing information into one book-like thing. In this case, magazine meaning a cartridge for bullets, you are storing bullets. In this case now you have two related senses. So then, to summarize homonymy and polysemy, in homonymy the senses are unrelated, but in polysemy senses are related. And they are related senses of the same phonological word. By this, if you recall our example of magazine, call it magazine 1, then magazine 2, they sound exactly the same. Now back to homonymy. If they sound exactly the same, so senses are unrelated and they sound exactly the same, we call that homophony. If the senses are unrelated, but their orthography is the same, we call them homography. So in a sense, you can see a small little similarity between homophony and polysemy. They both involve having the same phonological word. The difference is that here the senses are unrelated, but here the senses are related. And that does it for homonymy and polysemy. In the next video, we'll discuss semantic similarity and semantic opposition. Stay tuned.